Good morning and good afternoon, or good afternoon for that matter, based on where you are in the globe. This is 26th day of June 2025. It's a day that majority of us, especially as parents with children, we are mourning because our children have gone through a lot of problems. They are going through excruciating pain, and it's quite unfortunate. So honestly speaking, I don't think that we need to keep quiet, and we keep quiet. We have children. I've got Gen Zs in my house, more than four Gen Zs. It pained me yesterday. In as much as we need to keep quiet, it is always important to give you a view, because majority of us people we just keep quiet even when things don't go as we would wish. And majority of people they just keep quiet. They talk in their small cocoons without necessarily giving what we call their study points or where they stand. It is unfortunate that we lost many young men. We have continually lost men and women, young men and women, our children, our sons and our daughters. It's a very painful thing. So I thought I didn't sleep the whole night. I was trying to think about how what we can do to help maybe the people in power. It is important. We need to ask ourselves, how can we learn a people's government? Number one, learning a people's government, that is where power genuinely rests with the people. Just like our constitution says in Article 1, that all power belongs, all the sovereign power belongs to the people. So we need to have that particular position of appreciating that power rests with the people. It is rooted in what we call the principles of transparency, inclusivity, justice, and accountability. So is this what is happening? What goes wrong with our leaders? How come that our leaders don't feel like we do? How come that leaders who are well educated, I don't think whether they give the input. So I'm here to say today categorically that we need, the Bible says, come let us listen together. We can't sit down and continually watch our sons and daughters going down the drain. Some of them, their lives will never be the same again. I saw a young man from Nyeri who was shot both legs. And again, we also require to be civil in the way we carry out we handle ourselves. We need to be civil. What has the Lord done to you? You don't have to destroy your Lord. Yes, in as much as you're trying to agitate for something, why should you break into somebody else's job? Why should you go destroying billboards of people who have nothing to do with what is currently happening? Why should you go breaking windows? Why should you go targeting what we call other people's businesses? It is not fair. We need to be civil. In as much as we have been given the freedom to picket and the freedom to demonstrate, we must restrain ourselves. I really personally have got more than four Gen Zs in my house, and I have always been telling them that it is important that we must restrain ourselves. So one of the key things, how to learn a people's government, number one is that we need to establish a legitimate foundation. That is, create or adopt a constitution that reflects the collective will of the people. I think we have this constitution with us. A constitution that reflects the collective will of the people, guaranteeing them rights, defining institutions, and ensuring separation of powers, which we do in the Republic of Kenya. We have a constitution, a very progressive constitution. The question is, do we follow the spirit of that particular constitution? Because when we say that there's what we call, we create or adopt a constitution that reflects the collective will of the people, the collective will of the people, guaranteeing rights as enshrined in the constitution. We have what we call a whole chapter on the Bill of Rights. Then defining institutions. All institutions must be given their mandate, and they should not be influenced by either the executive, either parliament or legislature. Either the executive, the judiciary, or the legislature. We need to be separation of powers. So when you talk about separation of powers, it should not be seen to only exist in books. It should be seen and work in tandem with its expected laws. Then the other thing is what we call ensure inclusive participation. Build systems that encourage active civic involvement. This means free and fair elections. We are talking about ensure inclusive participation. I would call upon our government. You see, since last year, what lessons did we learn? We need to ask ourselves these very pertinent questions. What did we learn? The government was given a whole window of 365 days to address the issues that our Gen Zs raised. And there were pertinent issues.
Why do we ignore? Like now, when we woke up in the morning, it was business as usual. Remember, when we say it is as business as usual, we had some family members who lost their sons and daughters. We had some family members who lost their businesses. I remember one lady from Ogatarungai saying that she had taken a loan of 2 million only for her shop to be destroyed. That is quite unfortunate. Think about it. And that was the only line of livelihood. So I would even call upon our daughters and sons. We must be humane. In as much as we have got issues that we are agitating for, let us not go interfering with common Mwananchi's businesses. It is not right. It is not fair. We feel you. I'm a parent. We feel you. It is very painful to have gone to school, to have gotten a degree, to have not gotten a master's degree or a PhD or a diploma, and you're still jobless. I know the pain is too much. You can't be able to feed yourself. You can't be able to. It's quite unfortunate. But then, does that one mean that we destroy our infrastructure? Does that one mean that we ban what we call government property? Does that one mean that we go actually ransacking? You can imagine the people crying this morning. In as much as we say that it is back to normal life, it is not back to normal life. There are people counting losses. There are people who have lost their children. So a people's government should ensure inclusivity. We say we need to build systems that encourage active civic involvement. This means free and fair elections, accessible public forums, and mechanisms for marginalized voices to be heard. Everybody has a right to live in Kenya, and therefore we need to be heard. And again, I would also I'm calling out to our members of parliament. It is not right when a member of parliament who is a father like me stands and says that education is not important, that leadership comes from God. That is utter nonsense. That is total rubbish. That's what we call hogwash. Give it the name that you want. We cannot be educating our children, and we have men and women justifying that education is not a requirement. It is a requirement. We do not want members of parliament who cannot be able to understand what a bill is. We do not want people who just sit there and wait to be paid their salaries without any contribution to the nation. And I'm calling upon all our people who watch me, all those people who listen to me. This is the high time that we need to have men and women who can be able to interrogate, who can be able to understand the bill making process, and to understand also the motions in parliament and the role they should play. We have some people who have never even made a maiden speech in parliament, yet they get paid. We have some people who went up to Form 3 or Form 4. And the other day, I heard a young Kenyan saying that he has not gone through formal education, but he wants to go to parliament. Parliament is not a rugby pitch. Parliament is not a football pitch where football does not require. Even nowadays, football requires some elements of calculation. So in as much as we appreciate that these people, they want to justify their position, it is also our duty, and especially voters. Let me tell you, you cannot compare the people that we have from Nyanza. These are smart men and women. They are educated, they are learned, they understand, they articulate issues, they contribute in parliament, both bicameral parliaments. But in our places, we hear Wamegoda, Wamashukuru, Wamarefe, Wamekefe, Wamatiga. This is, look at the names that we use. When you go to those other sides, Western Nyanza, you hear Professor so-and-so, Dr. so-and-so, CPAK so-and-so, but where are our people? And because these people don't take themselves to parliament, we are the people who vote them in. Then we need to bring men and women who can be able to deliver. That is the only thing that will bring independence. That is the only thing that will bring economic freedom. That is the only time that shall have men and women being put in offices by virtue of meritocracy, not aristocracy, not political expediency. So, ladies and gentlemen, a people's government must ensure inclusivity. They must ensure that we respect institutions that have been established by law. The other thing is that we must embrace transparency and accountability. One thing that is making even Gen Zs to feel bad is that you find somebody whom you schooled with up to Form 4. You proceeded with education. He's now coming flying a helicopter. These people we know for sure. We have been in the market for quite a long time. You can't come and tell me, Kebisho, you get paid 100,000 shillings and have a shopper. Kebisho, you earn 100,000 shillings and you have 2-storied buildings without genuine explanation of where your wealth came from. So we are talking about we need to embrace transparency and accountability. Government actions, decisions, and finances should be open to public scrutiny. This includes independent oversight bodies and the freedom of the press. Remember yesterday, the Communications Authority, they switched off some media houses. What does the Constitution say? When we talk about separation of powers, I can't wake up one morning and pass and make a decision arbitrarily without necessarily referring to the Constitution. We need people who can be able to interrogate. We need people, you see, when you talk about transparency and accountability, is our government accountable? Government actions, like, shooting at him. You can imagine somebody carrying a flag, somebody carrying a bottle of water, and is actually shot at close range. Is that what we are talking about? Government actions? Government must be accountable to the people. And who is the government? The government, it is me and you. Government actions, decisions, and finances should be open to public scrutiny. This includes independent oversight, bodies, and freedom of the press. So we must all respect the institutions that exist. And over and above all, the government should not at any one time be seen to be siding with goons. The question begs, the Kenya government has sent police officers to go to Haiti to contain those goons. How then can we ensure, how can we go assisting others when we have goons disturbing our very people? Think about that's what we call paralysis of analysis. We need to be in a country where we have what we must uphold the rule of law and justice. We must learn to be in a country where we uphold the rule of law and justice. Laws must apply equally to all. Nobody is above the law. The moment Kenyans realize that we are all being governed by the same law and nobody is above the law, and if somebody makes a mistake, it does not matter from which tribe you come from. It does not matter whether you're in a ruling class. The fact of the matter is, law must be observed. Law must be followed. I'm very happy with this with the judge who actually was able to act swiftly and to say that the media houses should continue whatever was happening yesterday. Laws must apply equally to all, including government leaders. Yes, there should be no selection. There should be no selection of law. Law should apply to everybody. If somebody, we have seen some presidents in other jurisdictions being jailed. Like yesterday, there was a body of a president in South Africa who died, the president of Zambia, Edgar Lungu, who was supposed to be buried in South Africa, but there was a court injunction. So people had to follow law. It does not matter which position you are holding. Once you contravene the laid rules and like the law, you must you must face the full wrath of law. So we are talking about upholding the rule of law. Law must apply to all, including government leaders. Yes, a strong, impartial judiciary helps protect human rights and settles disputes fairly. So the law, Adam, as a lawyer, I can tell you this for free. All those jurisdictions that follow out the letter, there are minimal cases of disquiet amongst members. But nowadays, what are we doing? What are we doing to ourselves? Somebody is shot. We can even see. We have the evidence. We know who caused this, and the person is let go scot-free. Remember the pain of the parents. Remember, anyway, law must be applied equally to all of us. Then we must provide what we call essential services and social equity. A people-centered government focuses on education. And when we talk about education, you can imagine how educated our populace is. We have young and women who are so blaming, who are educated, and they are still working here without jobs. Why can't we have a law that if you attain 55 years, go home, even if it is Kibisho, go home. You are not the one. You are not the custodian of knowledge. That in an event you are not there, things can't learn. And again, why can't we stick to? We need to come up with laws as well that clearly stipulates what ought to be done. We cannot be having octogenarians serving us as if they are the custodians of knowledge and wisdom. They have their time. Let them go. So let us have young men. We need to have cabinet of young men and women, vibrant, full of energy, and men who are brainy to be able to move this nation to the next level. So we are talking about a government of the people must provide essential services and social equity. A people-centered government focuses on education, health care. Look at this, health care, water, housing, and reducing inequality. Inequality is another problem. Prioritizing the well-being of citizens, building trust and social stability. I think if you can have that kind of a people's government, then we shall not have the issues that we're having in the Republic of Kenya. Then we need to protect freedom and human rights, guarantee freedom of speech, religion, assembly, and identity. A vibrant democracy allows dissent and values difference as a sign of strength, not a threat. That is what we need to have in the Republic of Kenya. And then finally, we need to decentralize power where appropriate. Decentralize power. Why were county governments formed? The purpose of the formation of the proponents of the county governments all the framers of the county government, they wanted power to be removed from the center, so that those people within our counties, we remove what we call funding. Because why do people fight for this big post called the presidency? It is because since Kenya became independent, those people who are close to power, they are people's benefit. So we want to remove that, what we call, we can actually have a ceremonial president. A ceremonial president is there. Once, we should ensure that all the finances, functions, if a function has been transferred to the county, resources should follow also. But you have been seeing this tug of war between the central government and the county governments. The two levels of government have been fighting because the county government is not being funded the way it should be. And I want also to state here that even the county governments, for them to be funded, they must be seen to be doing something from their area. When we talk about own source revenue, how much are they correcting? So that we don't just wake up one morning and give them finances. Are they accountable? So decentralized power and empower local communities to make decisions about their own affairs. Localized governance can be more responsive and connected to real needs. So I also call upon the government to ensure that the county government see what you can do to absorb the people within your county. So what can you do to your agencies, to young men and women? We do not expect the national government. If the national government has devolved resources, it is also incumbent upon our governors to make sure that they do something that can also help absorb the younger generation within their counties. What is said that the county governments should do to ensure that our young men and women can also be absorbed by the county governments? What they require to do what we call a mapping of resources. And you see, like now, for instance, a county like Nyeri, where I come from, or Laikipia, because I come from Nyeri County, Nairobi County. I come from what we call, I come from Nyeri County, Kiambu County, Nairobi County, Laikipia County. So what is said that can be done within these counties? It's not empowerment is not about giving people beans and maize. That is not empowerment. Giving people food, you are actually perpetuating poverty. I have no respect for those governors. I have no respect for those people calling themselves leaders, and they're taking what we call beans and maize and rice to their people. That is what we call that. A handout mentality is a method of perpetuating poverty. We need the people to create what we call proper infrastructures. If it's a place like Nyeri, if wheat can grow in Muiga, why can't you enhance farming within that particular region? And then you start what we call value addition. Open factories that can accommodate more people, because when you employ young men and women with expertise, so that these people can get what we call job opportunities. What else can you do? Why can't you be able to actually attract investors to come to your county? Well, bring investors in your county, and out of those investments, they'll get jobs, as opposed to giving people handouts. I know politicians drive in crisis, but the question is then you have to prioritize. Even the housing project, yes, it's a good project, yes, but how many people needed those houses? What is their priority? Like now we are talking about health as an issue. If health is an issue, a healthy nation, well, healthy people are the ones that build the nation. So we need to put our priorities right. And I call upon the government of the day to ensure that they at least learn from me the few points that I have given, so that they can see what they can do for these people called Gen Zs. Otherwise, we continually lose young men and women, which is unfortunate. These are the people who have the energy to turn around the fortunes of the nation. And even our police officers, they must have the human face. Why should you shoot somebody who is actually carrying a Kenyan flag and a bottle of water? Why should you do that? Aren't you a human being? How inhuman can you be? Why should you shoot somebody? Why can't you arrest? Why can't you arrest? You can, and even in extreme cases where your life has been threatened, those are the only opportunities that one can. But why should you go? Like I remember the case of Boniface Kariuki. It's quite unfortunate. Anyway, may God bless Kenya. May God remember Kenya. Thank you for those people giving me their remarks. I can see in Vega Simba there are protesters and goons. It is goons who rooted and were on politicians' command. Let us blame the political class 100%. I hear you. Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Mwirori. I can see. What about Kurusha Mawe? Advise me also on the same. So let's think about young men and women. I'll be coming shortly on something else, on a different subject from matters governance. God bless. And I bring this show to an